Okay.
I saw pictures down there.
Yeah, it's exciting. You know, I've not been to one before, so it's all a new experience. And you know, where I come from, there's nothing anywhere near as big as this. So it's nice. It's nice to see a sort of a celebration of the show on a scale like this. Yeah, where I come from in New Zealand, there's nothing quite as big. So you know, it's good to see that it's so popular.
I was wondering, you had a challenge in the prequel. You had to lose a lot of weight because you were just starting to get to the Ludus. Have you looking a little bit bigger? You going to put the weight back on forward?
You know what? I think I've come back about halfway because you know, season 1 Crixus was the war machine, you know, and so you know, I trained particularly for being that shape. The gladiator who was training every day, was on top of his game. You know, was the true champion. You know, so you know, I had sort of a size that matched that. Then when the prequel came along, I had to completely revert to being a slave arriving at the Ludus for the first time. You know, long hair and you know, holistic. So I shredded about 8 kilos, and then when this season came up, you know, we discussed what the requirements would be, and you know, would be on the basically we wouldn't be at the Ludus, we wouldn't be fighting and training every day, we wouldn't have the food supply, so we. You know, I like to mix up the character a bit. You know, I think it's interesting to keep on transforming. It makes it interesting, one, for me as an actor, and I think it makes it interesting for the audience as well. You know, my hair's gone a little bit sort of mid-length now in comparison to the flat top of the long hair. And, you know, we talked about keeping the flat top in this second season, but we came to the decision that, you know, my hair naturally grows out of the flat top in 2 weeks. The same would happen to Crixus. You know, so we decided, well, you know, we can't just keep this trimmed little flat top. It wouldn't make sense. So we've sort of, you know, as I said, I really like to mix up the look with Crixus, and I think, you know, you're going to see several phases in this season as well. You see progresses with the very interesting storyline, which I can't tell you about.
So how do you feel about your character in season 2? What are the key differences that you see, the journey that you're going to be taking on in this particular season?
Well, I think you know, I mean, the episode is called Vengeance,
right?
And so I think the underpinning element of the second season is the idea that we've gained our freedom, and you know, now we're sort of setting the task to oppose those who put us in our chains, and have vengeance for what we were put through. You know, Crixus's journey, you know, in season 2 is about trying to find out what happened to Navia. You know,
right.
So there's that side of it. But you know, it's as was happening in season 1. I think there's a you know, great storyline that started to develop in season 1 between Crixus and Spartacus about their common views. You know, what they did share in common, and but you know, coming out into the world as two generals, really. You know, how the leadership is going to counterbalance between them. You know, I mean, you know, the Gauls are going to be there, and the Thracians are going to be there, and it's going to be kind of like, you know, which power is going to sort of rise and which one's not going to.
It sounds like the scale of the action.
Oh, absolutely.
I like that. Which power rises? That's awesome to put it like that.
Yeah.
Because that makes it really sexy in terms of expectations about the characters. You know what I mean? It's kind of like setting the stage for, you know, that's a brilliant answer. I love it.
Well, it was nice to always keep conflict between Crixus and Spartacus. You know,
yep.
I mean, you know, there was a lot of times in season 1 where in the writing we could have shook hands, or we could have looked at each other and gone, "I hear you, buddy," but we just chose not to. You know, and I think it was just a good choice originally by Andy Whitfield, myself, to keep the tension in there. You know, I think when you've got conflict rules in drama. You know, and then we just hold on to it as much as we can. You know, and as performers, we keep on talking to the writers and saying, "Hey, you know, instead of slightly going warm there, why don't we snap it the other way. You know,
How's it different with Andy gone now? Well, how's the cast like kind of regrouped around that?
You know, there's two situations. There's a professional situation where you know the shows had to go on, and you know, I think we've found the perfect replacement. You know, well, the perfect next person to play Spartacus. You know, no one can match. Nobody can match what Andy did as Andy did it. But somebody can bring their own performance, and Liam's brought his own performance.
So it'll be a little bit of different type of Spartacus.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's no upside to the situation, but in its own example, Liam being Spartacus now, I think you've got another interesting dynamic for the whole, you know, for the audience to reinvest themselves in another challenge of accepting the show. You know, I think one of the things about our show is we've constantly had to come up against huge obstacles to keep the show going. You know, but and the audience is sort of like been sitting there wondering whether they're going to accept things about the show, but we, you know, I think that's one of the great things about the show is that it keeps on changing, and the audience has to keep on, you know, challenging themselves to go on the journey. You know.